everyone, it's Lel and it's theory time. After watching the first episode of Wonderful PreCure, I've been wondering about some things and I want to share some ideas and some thoughts here in a video. So the first thing is that it's very interesting that we're starting a season without knowing the mid-season cure. We don't know their design, we don't know their name, we know nothing about them. If you are someone who is watching PreCure more recently, this is something that has happened for the past few years. And in some seasons, we even see the mid-season cure before the season starts. That was the case, for example, of Cure Cosmo in Startwinkle PreCure. Or sometimes we just know the name of the mid-season cure before the season starts, but we don't see her design, which happened with Cure Majesty in Hirogaru Sky PreCure and in lots of other seasons as well. This time around, we still don't know, but obviously it's very early on. What I want to do here is share a theory and then some thoughts and possibilities for the mid-season. After watching the first episode, I have observed some things. The first one that I want to mention here is the transformation device, the Wonderful Pact. After Cure Wonderful transforms into Cure Wonderful, the transformation device gets put into a pouch, and this pouch has 5 different colors. It has the colors of the 4 cures that we already know exist: pink, purple, blue, and green, and it also has yellow. So I believe yellow can be the color of the mid-season cure. I think this is a good indication or a possible indication of their color. And the second thing that I want to mention here is something that I've noticed that is yellow that appeared in the first episode. In that scene in the Nico Garden in which we see the animals suffering and turning into eggs, we see a big stone, a crystal, a diamond, I don't know. We see a big stone, and that stone is shattered. There is some sort of yellow-ish light or glow inside of that stone, and I've been wondering, why is that color there? I mean, it can just be a shiny effect of the stone itself, but why did they choose for it to be yellow? I believe it's because it is related to some sort of power from the Nico Garden that is going to be awakened later on, and that is going to be the power of the mid-season cure of the season. I think it is related to that shiny, broken stone, shattered crystal that appeared in the Nico Garden. So there might be the possibility that the mid-season cure will come from the Nico Garden. Maybe it's a sacred or a special Kirarin animal that is going to turn into the mid-season cure. I don't know. And there is also another thing that I have noticed after watching this episode, which is the following. Both Komugi and Yuki are going to turn into cures. We can safely assure that Yuki is Cure Nyami, and we've already seen that Komugi is Cure Wonderful. Both of them have something similar. They both have a heart in the back of their heads. Apart from that, there's been a lot of talk in the PreCure fandom about Satoru and Daifuku. Satoru is Iroha's friend that appears in the first episode, and Daifuku is his pet rabbit. And there were lots of theories possibly considering both of them to be mid-seasons. And well, I believed that could have been a possibility, even though I have theorized that maybe only Satoru would have turned into the mid-season with the help of Daifuku maybe. That was my first theory. But now I wonder, both Komugi and Yuki are going to be the animals that turn into cures, and they have this similarity. They both have a heart on the back of their heads. And while we haven't seen Daifuku in detail, in the first episode, in certain shots, we can see that Daifuku has something on the back of his head as well. And I'm sorry, I'm using male pronouns for Daifuku, but I'm not sure we know Daifuku's gender. I'm sorry, let's use them. So we see something in the back of their head, and it's not a heart, it's a circle. This makes me believe that Komugi, Yuki, and Daifuku are special animals. They're not regular animals. They're some sort of magical animals or animals that received powers from the Nico Garden somehow. We know that there's an entity called Nico-sama, right? So I believe that there's a possibility that those three animals are not regular animals from Earth. You know, they might be from Earth, but they might have received some sort of power, some sort of blessing. I don't know. But after seeing that Daifuku does not have a heart on the back of their head, I am believing right now that maybe they're not going to turn into a cure. I have theorized that I believe that Daifuku comes from the same side as the villains, even though I don't think Daifuku is a villain. I don't know, it's very early on to judge. It's just something out of my head. But I believe that they come from the same place as the villains from this season come. We don't even know where they come from, but it's just a theory, it's just a thought. But after seeing that they don't have a heart on their back, I think they might not be the mid-season cure. But we also have to remember that sometimes mid-seasons, they have the same gimmick as the rest of the group in a different way. So that might be the case with Daifuku. Who knows? But I really believe right now, my biggest theory is that yellow glow that appears in the stone in Nico Garden is related to the power of the mid-season. But now let's talk about something else that is not related to theory inside the show, but thinking more of PreCure as a product, as merchandise, and as a moneymaker. So what we usually have in PreCure is an initial lineup release, and then we have other releases throughout the year from the same season. We have merch release all year long from the same season, and even from past seasons as well. But since the current season is always the big product, we sometimes have big bulks of merchandise being released at the same time to represent something new inside the show. So we have the release of the initial lineup with huge wave of merchandise, which is something that is happening right now. We have a lot of merchandise from both Cure Wonderful, Cure Friendly, and items from the show like the Wonderful Pact and the Friendly Tact, which are the transformation device and the weapon that they're going to use. The weapon is getting released in March, but since it's very close to the release here in February, I'm putting them on the same bulk. And then we take a while for us to have another bulk of merchandise being released. This usually happens in June. In most recent PreCure seasons, it happens in June with the release of the mid-season cure. Together with her release, we have new items like transformation items, weapons, plushies, and the other items from the lineup. Hirogaru Sky changed it up a little bit by having 4 cures at the start in promo images and in the ending, but we took a while for us to have the 4 of them together. And Cure Butterfly was released as a mid-season cure in terms of merchandise, at least. When Cure Butterfly was released, we had a big wave of merchandise with her merchandise and Cure Wing's merchandise together, even though Cure Wing debuted very early in the show compared to Butterfly. The big portion of his merch release was together with her in June. And we had the releases of them as individuals, and we also had a weapon release and even a new version of the transformation device, which was the Sky Mirage with Cure Butterflies and Cure Wings Skytones. And then later on in the year, this changes, but we also have a big release, which is usually the power-up item. The power-up item is normally a weapon, and this weapon comes with different perks sometimes, but Hirogaru Sky also changed it up by adding Cure Majesty. We don't have a power-up in Hirogaru Sky, but instead of the power-up release, we have a new Cure release. So Cure Majesty, can we also call her a mid-season cure? It doesn't really matter to this discussion. What matters here, at least to the discussion we're having right now, is merchandise. So at the end of a season, not exactly at the end, like September/October, we have another big release, which is the power-up or another cure in terms of Cure Majesty with Hirogaru Sky PreCure. Cure Majesty was released together with her Skytone, a beautiful new weapon, and her individual items as well. Plushies, dolls, etc. And now here lies the question. What are they going to do in Wonderful PreCure? So we have Wonderful and Friendly already having their merch released. And in the ending for Wonderful, we only have Wonderful and Friendly. This makes me believe they're going to take a little while to add Nyami and Lillian. And remembering this is all theories, so I might be wrong, as I usually am in my theories. But based on merchandise release, my bet right now is that both Nyami and Lillian are arriving in June, because then we will have an influx of merchandise, both from Nyami and Lillian. They will also have to release new transformation devices and maybe a weapon. The transformation device we have right now is only for Cure Wonderful and Cure Friendly. We are going to have another transformation device for Nyami and Lillian. My bet is that it's going to be a very similar transformation device, only changing the colors, possibly to Nyami's color and Lillian's color, blue and green. But I don't know, it might be something different. If it is something different, it's going to be in the same format because it also fits the same pouch as Wonderful's and Friendly's item. Together with that, we're probably also going to have a weapon for them because I don't think they will use the Friendly Tact, but they can use the Kiriniko trunk as a weapon or something. I also don't believe that's going to happen, but they can have, for example, Nyami Pact and Lillian Tact. We never know. If that's the case, I feel like they can fill the same purpose as Cure Butterfly did in Hirogaru Sky PreCure and have a big merchandise release together with their arrival in the show. Even though we've already seen them in the opening, in promo images, there is some merch for both of them already, but I feel like the big bulk of merchandise from both of them is going to take a little while, because if they release big bulks of merchandise very close to each other, people will have no way of buying this much items, so I feel like it's a smart thing to space them out a little. If Nyami and Lillian arrive in June, I feel like there are other two possibilities for this season. One, a mid-season Cure arriving in September or October, like Cure Majesty, and this season not having a power-up, like Hirogaru Sky did. And two, not having another mid-season Cure joining and the four girls having a power-up in September or October. I think this is also something that Wonderful PreCure can do. We've had one PreCure season after the advent of mid-seasons or additional warriors coming to PreCure in Fresh. We had one PreCure season that did not have a mid-season or an additional warrior, which was Smile PreCure. Smile PreCure had no mid-season at all, and it's a super well-succeeded season. It's a beloved season. But since we're talking about the commercial aspect of PreCure, Smile did stellar. So it's not like PreCure exactly needs a mid-season. But it's been a long time since Smile, so I'm comparing it most to the most recent seasons in terms of release, because in the past, the mid-seasons usually arrived in July, and now they arrive in June, for example. And so I feel like there are those two possibilities. The mid-seasons can be Nyami and Lillian only, and we have no one else. And it would be nice. It would be a good change of pace. And it would also be nice because they would have a power-up for sure, if that was the case. Or they can have another mid-season joining later, like Cure Majesty, which was also very nice in Hirogaru Sky, in my opinion. I really loved Majesty's arrival. I really loved the moment of the season she arrived. I think it's a good turning point in a moment of PreCure seasons that usually don't have much going on. So that was a very cool addition. And I feel like the possibilities are endless. Obviously, they can change the merch release dates. They can have Nyami and Lillian arrive, for example, in April. They can have another mid-season already joining in June or July, for example, and, carry on the rest of the season and have a power-up in October. I feel like that is a very hard possibility, but it can also happen. I don't understand enough of marketing and consumer habits in Japan. What I'm saying here is by observation of events after being a fan for certain years. There's also a new theory that popped up on Twitter after I recorded this video, so I'm gonna add this here. This was shared by Gilles Poker, and they said that the new image from the Pretty store has 2 spaces below Cure Milky and Cure Cosmo, and this could possibly mean that we would have 2 mid-seasons in Wonderful PreCure because they would fit those 2 spaces. I think it's also a nice way of looking at theories and ideas for the mid-season, so I'm adding this here because I just feel like it enriches the conversation. And I want to finish this video by saying that we have lots of items being released already, and the mid-season cure hasn't been found in any of them, which is smart if you think about it, because they have released a transformation device only for Wonderful and Friendly, so there is no way to hack the toy or try to toothpick find a mid-season there. At the same time, we have other toys, like for example the mirror pad that was originally from Hirogaru Sky and now is here in Wonderful PreCure again, not in the show, at least not for now, but it's also a toy with information from the Wonderful PreCure cast. I think there is nothing, at least so far, there is nothing concerning the mid-season cure there. And there's also another item, which is the Kironiko trunk. The Kironiko trunk is also a technological item that could store lots of info, lots of data inside. And I haven't seen anyone talking about a potential name or some sort of information inside the Nico trunk that could open the possibility for us to find the name of a mid-season cure. Obviously, this can still happen. Someone can still find a mid-season cure name there, or even a picture, which would be very cool, by the way. I love those leaks. But maybe Bandai is trying something different by really hiding all the information from a possible mid-season. Hirogaru Sky PreCure was a season that broke lots of molds, and it feels like they're also trying to push the franchise forward with Wonderful PreCure by really bringing something new and something totally unexpected in many aspects. Maybe the merchandise will follow and we will have a totally different merchandise release for Wonderful PreCure as well. What are your thoughts? Do you believe we're going to have a mid-season apart from Nyami and Lillian? Do you think Nyami and Lillian are going to be the mid-seasons? When do you think they will debut? Leave a comment. Let's keep talking in the comment box below. Anyways, babies, this is it for now. I want to take this little time to thank the members of the Magical Cinnamon channel. If you are a member, thank you very much for your support. If you've watched up until now, thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.